Shoshana Orvitz. You can see the picture here. She's in front of her, the Kotel, with about 500 of her descendants. And it was her 104th birthday, and she asked that all of her children, grandchildren, and her grandchildren's children and grandchildren all come together to celebrate her 104th birthday. And Shoshana Orvitz is a Holocaust survivor. And here she came to Israel and established this beautiful family with 500 descendants. And this picture is the story of the Jewish people. Because yesterday was the saddest day of the year, Tisha B'Av. This Friday is the happiest day of the Jewish calendar. Imagine that. The two bookends of this week, Sunday and Friday, are the saddest and happiest day. The saddest day is Tisha B'Av. Why is Friday the happiest day? Because the Talmud says, Lo hoya yomim tovim b'Yisrael. There was never such a joyous holiday like the 15th day of Av. What happened on the 15th day of Av? Says the Talmud that the boys and the girls would go out in the fields. It was like the Talmudic J-date. They would go out in the fields, and the girls would say to the boys, young man, Bachur, lift up your eyes and choose a bride, get married, pick a wife. And each one would extol their virtues, why they should be chosen. Someone once said, why lift up your eyes? Because the boys, they're always sitting and learning in the yeshiva, they have their eyes in the Talmud. He said, pick your eyes out of the Talmud, look, it's time to get married. Why is this holiday at this point? So I mentioned many times that Tisha B'Av is the 9th day of Av. Av is the 11th month on the Jewish calendar. So Tisha B'Av is 9/11. And the twin temples were destroyed on the 9th day of the 11th month on the Jewish calendar. Now I have a brother, Dovi, who literally got married Tuesday night, 9/11/2001. So the morning of his wedding, he wakes up and he hears the news that the Twin Towers were crashed into and thousands of people were trapped underneath the rubble. And he didn't know what to do. He said, maybe we should postpone the wedding because how could I get married in Brooklyn, New York, when in Manhattan, right over the bridge, there are thousands of people trapped underneath the rubble and thousands of people were dead and no one knew the number at that point. And he called his rabbi, and his rabbi said, marriage is not just a happy occasion. If it was just a happy occasion, you say, how could you be happy on such a sad day? He says, marriage is about love. What happened this morning at the Twin Towers is hate. The best response to hate is love. And perhaps that's why right after Tisha B'Av, which is based on baseless hatred, we come to the happiest day, which is love and marriage, the baseless love. And it was suggested something fascinating. We know that in Judaism we have 7 days of mourning, Shiva. And the day of the death and the funeral is the first day. And then on the 7th day, we only mourn part of the day, but then we get up from the Shiva. So if you start counting, many Jews were murdered on Tisha B'Av. Hundreds of thousands of Jews were murdered by the Romans. So the burials took place. The Shiva started the 9th, the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, the 15th in the morning is when they got up from Shiva. So right after the Shiva is over, it's time to start rebuilding. It's time to start creating new life. When we look at our generation, I know my grandfather survived Auschwitz, and I'm grateful to him every day that he remarried my grandmother and started a family again, and sent them to Jewish schools, and today's schools open in Palm Beach County, and he gave them a Jewish education which they passed on to me, which I've passed on to my children. And the message of Judaism is never let tragedy defeat you. Always rise up. That's why we have a state of Israel. That's why we have Jewish institutions around the world flourishing. Because the generation that was so crushed physically and emotionally from the Holocaust didn't allow that to destroy them spiritually, and they rose back up and they recreated Jewish life that we are all beneficiaries of. And the lesson is in our personal lives, when we go through hardships, like this woman, Shoshana Orvitz, she could have given up. But she started life again in Israel with her husband Dov and has now 500 descendants. Every one of us owe it to our future descendants not to be defeated. And I'll just say that human beings are capable of rising from the greatest adversity. And I heard something very beautiful from Rabbi Aaron the other day. He said something beautiful. He said, you know who the greatest masterpiece is? You. Why are you the greatest masterpiece? Because every human being has a godly soul, a neshama, which means you have a piece of the master inside you, a piece of God. And that's why you're the ultimate masterpiece. And therefore no hate and no evil could ever destroy that masterpiece, which is you, your neshama. And therefore you could always resurge and regrow and redevelop your inner strength and greatness and never allow evil to defeat you. And that's the story of the Jewish people. And that's why we go from the saddest day of Tisha B'Av to the most joyous day, which is the 15th of Av, which is this Friday.